Or do you think they wanted to know about what Jared Kushner would say about what he told Mike Flynn? I think where this goes next is questions about whether White House officials are honest in their conversations with federal investigators about what they advised Mike Flynn to do. And the backdrop to this is that Flynn, in cooperating, has already given Mueller the information to put White House officials on the hook. This is fascinating, Don, and I expect to see more in the next month or two.
Robert, you've been watching this all day. You've been listening to the analysis here, even some of the conversations that I've been having. What do you think?
Well, the last bit, I mean, that's nothing in my judgment other than wild speculation about where this goes. Second thing is, I disagree with the first point. A federal felony plea to false statements is not a little deal. Try being on the receiving end of that. You know, whether he goes to jail ultimately or not is beside the point. You're talking about a former three-star general, the former national security advisor, pleading guilty to a federal false statements charge in connection with a federal criminal investigation. So in and of itself, that's a big deal. And that's separate and apart from the fact that there's a special counsel investigation involved.
But weren't there things in there that could have sent him to jail for a longer period of time?
Well, I mean, you know, there's some other things in there, but I think, you know, for understandable reason, they would be things that you would exercise some prosecutorial discretion about. Charging somebody, for example, about failing to register as representing a foreign agent is technically a violation of the federal criminal law, but prosecution in that area is not one that really traditionally has been brought. That's the first thing. Second thing is making false statements on financial disclosure forms is a bit of a tricky prosecution to bring, because people have innocent reasons as to why they don't capture everything that should be disclosed on a financial disclosure form. This one is different. This one is a false statements charge where the Justice Department from the outset knew exactly what Michael Flynn had been discussing with Kislyak, because the conversations were recorded.
I've got to get to the break, though, and I really need to do this because we only have 1 hour tonight.
Sure.
But I have to say, in my colleagues' defense, both of whom have predicted pretty much exactly what has happened now, and you said it's wild speculation, but both Juliet and Phil had said months ago, this is where we would be.
There's no question that we were going to get here. I think any reasonable observer looking at things back as far as May understood that two people in this investigation had exposure: Paul Manafort and Michael Flynn. Now, whether anybody else has exposure, no one has really speculated about, and no one really knows for sure.
All right, stick around, everybody. Stay with me. When we come back, I want you to weigh in on the president's attempts to shut down the Russia investigation. We're going to discuss who he pressured, when, and what it could mean.
Sometimes a gift should be opened early, especially when it fits this good. Now at Men's Warehouse, suits on sale for $199. Take 60% off sweaters and outerwear, plus it's buy one, get one free on select items. You're gonna like the way he looks.
If you've been struggling with belly pain and constipation and you're overwhelmed by everything you've tried, all those laxatives, daily probiotics, endless fiber, it could be wearing on you. Tell your doctor what you've tried and how long you've been at it. Linzess works differently from laxatives. Linzess treats adults with IBS with constipation or chronic constipation. It can help relieve your belly pain and lets you have more frequent and complete bowel movements that are easier to pass. Do not give Linzess to children less than 6, and it should not be given to children 6 to less than 18. It may harm them. Don't take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling. Ask your doctor if 90 days of Linzess may be right for you.
Brighten your holidays with a Lightkeeper Pro. The Lightkeeper Pro fixes light sets fast and easy. Indoor lights, outdoor lights, pre-lit Christmas trees. Don't throw your decorations away. Just pull the quick fix trigger to repair the #1 cause of light set failure. It fixes net lights, icicle lights. There's an audible voltage detector and more. Lightkeeper Pro and LED Keeper, available in stores now.
I don't believe in love at first sight, but Hulu sure gives me a lot to look at. Past seasons, new seasons, only here seasons, but you can't watch everything. Ooh, Fargo. Or can you?
Have you you ever seen something so beautiful that all you could say was, wow? Beaches, Turks, and Caicos, where anything is possible because everything is included. Wow. Get up to 65% off. Call 1-800-BEACHES.
At the end of the day, there's nothing better than a glass of wine, especially that first sip. The taste is so important, and wine just doesn't taste as good a day after it's been opened. What if you didn't actually have to open the bottle at all? With my Coravin, I never need to pull the cork. I simply insert the needle, tip, and pour. The cork reseals to preserve the rest of the bottle for months or even years. At home, relaxing with a glass of wine or entertaining friends, just insert, tip, and pour. Buy Coravin at these fine retailers.
Tomorrow, on an all-new Axe-Files, Academy Award-winning actor Tom Hanks talks Hollywood, his love of history, and his reaction to President Trump's first year in office. The Axe-Files with David Axelrod, CNN, tomorrow at 7.
This is not just any cruise. This is MSC Cruises, one of the largest cruise lines in the world, where every detail is beyond just ordinary. You won't walk on just any stairs. These steps are covered in Swarovski crystals. There's not just one performance to see. There's a different show every night. On an MSC cruise, you won't be served just any meal. You'll enjoy freshly prepared international cuisine. And you won't explore just any destination or meet just anyone. You'll encounter travelers from all over the world. Because this is not just any cruise. This is an MSC cruise. Right now, cruise the Caribbean from Miami and save a lot with our exclusive 2-for-1 offer. Book a stateroom and 2 of you will sail for the price of 1. An incredible value. Call your travel agent today or visit msccruises.com.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
We're back now. From the very beginning, Donald Trump slammed the Russia investigation as a phony Democratic excuse for losing the election. But now that his former national security advisor is an admitted felon and the number of Trump's people with verified Russian contact growing, it looks increasingly difficult for the president to claim this is all a hoax. Back with me now, Phil Mudd, Juliette Kayyem, and Robert Ray. So let's talk more about this because there was some disagreement among you guys about where this would go next. Juliette, you say Jared Kushner, you believe.
I think if you read the plea agreement today and the talk of senior transition officials, that leads to Jared Kushner, picking up on what Phil said, the fact that Jared Kushner was brought in last month. Look, you can try, as Robert was doing, you could try to put this into a little box and say, oh, it's just Michael Flynn, and ignore a year and a half of essentially lying by the Trump administration and the people around him about any contacts with Russians. Remember, this began with them saying there were no contacts with Russians. So take a step back and ask yourself, why have they consistently been lying? It is not because they're afraid of the Logan Act. Let me tell you, something else is going on. And we know something else is going on because Flynn has now pled to, maybe it's not an insignificant crime, but it's certainly not as bad as the other stuff we've heard about Flynn. And that another shoe, if not 2 or 3, will drop. And there are hints of it, more than hints of it, and you guys are reporting on it, that next shoe may be Jared Kushner.
Phil?
Let's be clear here. Let me lay a few facts on the table. I spent 4.5 years working for Robert Mueller. The man's a hammer. He decides not to bring a hammer against Michael Flynn, who is not peripheral here. He's a core in the investigation. Why does he not bring all the charges he could bring? I agree. It's not clear what those charges could be, but it certainly appears that they could have extended into various financial irregularities. And then we learn that Flynn flips. And finally, the last piece, Don, is that after Flynn flips, feds go to talk to Jared Kushner, and Jared Kushner's lawyer says it's not a general conversation, it's a conversation about Mike Flynn. Let me give you where this goes. Why are they talking to Jared Kushner about Michael Flynn? It's because they need more information to prosecute Flynn? No. They had that last January. It's because they want to see if Kushner is going to lie about what Flynn has already said happened in his conversations with Kushner. I think this is pretty clear.
Mm-hmm. You want to respond, Robert?
Good luck with that. Jared Kushner is well represented by Abby Lowell. The difference is that, so far as I understand, General Flynn went and talked to the FBI without a lawyer, which was obviously, the benefit of hindsight, a huge mistake.
We agree on that.
And with regard to Jared Kushner taking on, if the investigation decides to take on Jared Kushner, they're going to be in for a real battle because they're taking on the president's son-in-law. And I think, in terms of speculation about where this is going, I mean, on the assumption that Jared Kushner is the very senior member of the presidential transition team, what's alleged in the statement of facts is simply that there was a direction to contact officials from foreign governments in December of 2016, which is well into the transition, including Russia, to learn where each government stood on, in this example, the resolution, and to influence those governments to delay the vote or defeat the resolution. What's alleged in the statement
is going on, and we know something else is.
We're back now. From the very beginning, Donald Trump slammed the Russia investigation as a phony Democratic excuse for losing the election. But now that his former national security advisor is an admitted felon and the number of Trump's people with verified Russian contact growing, it looks increasingly difficult for the president to claim this is all a hoax. Back with me now, Phil Mudd, Juliette Kayyem, and Robert Ray. So let's talk more about this, because there was some disagreement among you guys about where this would go next. Juliette, you say Jared Kushner, you believe.
I think if you read the plea agreement today and the talk of senior transition officials, that leads to Jared Kushner, picking up on what Phil said, the fact that Jared Kushner was brought in last month. Look, you can try, as Robert was doing, you could try to put this into a little box and say, oh, it's just Michael Flynn, and ignore a year and a half of essentially lying by the Trump administration and the people around him about any contacts with Russians. Remember, this began with them saying there were no contacts with Russians. So take a step back and ask yourself, why have they consistently been lying? It is not because they're afraid of the Logan Act. Let me tell you, something else is going on. And we know something else is going on because Flynn has now pled to, maybe it's not an insignificant crime, but it's certainly not as bad as the other stuff we've heard about Flynn, and that another shoe, if not 2 or 3, will drop. And there are hints of it, more than hints of it, and you guys are reporting on it, that next shoe may be Jared Kushner.
Phil?
Let's be clear here. Let me lay a few facts on the table. I spent 4.5 years working for Robert Mueller. The man's a hammer. He decides not to bring a hammer against Michael Flynn, who is not peripheral here. He's a core in the investigation. Why does he not bring all the charges he could bring? I agree. It's not clear what those charges could be, but it certainly appears that they could have extended into various financial irregularities. And then we learn that Flynn flips. And finally, the last piece, Don, is that after Flynn flips, feds go to talk to Jared Kushner, and Jared Kushner's lawyer says it's not a general conversation, it's a conversation about Mike Flynn. Let me give you where this goes. Why are they talking to Jared Kushner about Michael Flynn? It's because they need more information to prosecute Flynn? No. They had that last January. It's because they want to see if Kushner is going to lie about what Flynn has already said happened in his conversations with Kushner. I think this is pretty clear.
Mm-hmm. You want to respond, Robert?
Good luck with that. Jared Kushner is well represented by Abby Lowell. The difference is that, so far as I understand, General Flynn went and talked to the FBI without a lawyer, which was obviously, the benefit of hindsight, a huge mistake.
We agree on that.
And with regard to Jared Kushner taking on, if the investigation decides to take on Jared Kushner, they're going to be in for a real battle because they're taking on the president's son-in-law. And I think, in terms of speculation about where this is going, I mean, on the assumption that Jared Kushner is the very senior member of the presidential transition team, what's alleged in the statement of facts is simply that there was a direction to contact officials from foreign governments in December of 2016, which is well into the transition, including Russia, to learn where each government stood on, in this example, the resolution, and to influence those governments to delay the vote or defeat the resolution in connection with Israel.
Isn't that when the sanctions were placed? That was after the sanctions were placed.
Sure,
by
but
the Obama administration.
I guess the question is, what's wrong with that? And even if you have issues about one government at a time and one administration at a time, there's nothing unlawful about that.
Not the question. Go ahead, Phil.
The question is whether he
and
told the truth.
I'll give Robert that. I have to say, I'm going to give Robert that. Right, that is exactly the point. Robert, we'll give you that, right? And in other words, it was a mistake of Jared to try to influence it while President Obama was still President Obama. Why are they always lying about it? That's the question that,
I think
that
I can
none
answer
of
that
Trump
one.
supporters or someone like you will never answer.
If
Why
you've got
are
a
they
5 second, if
always
you can tell me in 5 seconds, and if not, then we'll have to wait till another time.
In 5 seconds, it was politically problematic to be acknowledging contacts with Russian government officials. And I think what probably went on, which is the danger of every administration, is lying because you think that it's helpful to the administration. That's a problem. Turned out to be a federal felony problem.
But are you going to lie to federal investigators, Phil, for something politically? I mean, that's not very bright.
Yeah, but this is not just a political case. Every person in the seat sits there and says, they don't know what I know, and if I sort of dance around this, I'm not going to. Everybody entering Washington does that, and you see that in terrorism cases, so this is common.
And apparently he didn't realize that his conversations were being monitored.
Yeah. That's it. The reason I said Phil Mattingly, I was talking to my producers because that's where we have to go now. Thank you all. We've got another huge breaking news story tonight. The Senate expected to vote on the massive GOP tax bill. CNN's Phil Mattingly is on Capitol Hill for us with more. Phil, good evening to you. I mean, it's incredible that this is still going on. What's happening?
Yeah, look, only a matter of time. That's what one GOP aide just told me as I walked over here from the Senate floor in terms of that they're actually going to get this done. But, Don, this has been a remarkable day. This morning, Republicans knew they had the votes to move this forward. About an hour and a half ago, they actually had a final bill. The idea that they are about to pass something that literally will affect every single individual, every single industry, every single company, and just a few hours ago got a hold of the bill itself is remarkable. However, it's worth noting that this also underscores what's been going on over the course of the last 2 months up here. The political imperative for Republicans to move forward on this, to have a legislative victory, to have a victory on a tax overhaul, has really overcome everything else that's going on. The big issue right now, as they move towards a final vote, should be probably around 1:30 or 2 a.m. at the current pace, is people are finding out what's inside the bill. People are starting to read the bill. Democrats are seizing on specific provisions. Earlier tonight, they talked about a specific carve-out for a conservative college. Now, Republicans have changed the language since that time to try and broaden out that carve-out. But, Don, the interesting element here is when you only have the bill for an hour and a half, 2 hours before you start voting on it, the odds are you're going to find a lot more of those issues in the days and weeks ahead. Still, Republicans are on track right now to pass in the U.S. Senate a tax overhaul, something that hasn't been done in 31 years. That is a huge step for them, something they will have to complete by reconciling two different versions from the House. Don, there's no question about it. They're almost there to a major legislative victory.
And Phil Mattingly standing by watching it for us. Thank you, Phil. We appreciate it. When we come back, the president or family? It looks like General Flynn picked his son over the president. I'm going to ask Fareed Zakaria what he thinks about that. That's next.
Fries for 316, please. Thank you.
David, what's going on?
Oh, hey.
That's it?
Yeah.
Everybody, 2 seconds.
Dear Sebastian, after careful consideration of your application, it is with great pleasure that we offer our congratulations on your acceptance.
Through the Tuition Assistance Program, every day, McDonald's helps more people go to college. It's part of our commitment to being America's best first job.
Give a gift that brings the ones you love even closer with a DNA kit from 23andMe. And this holiday, get up to $50 off each kit at 23andme.com.
I saw the change in Rich when we moved into the new house, but having his parents over was enlightening.
You don't like my lasagna?
No, it's good.
Here, blow. Blow on it.
You see it, right?
Is there a draft in here? I'm telling you, it's so easy to get home insurance on Progressive.com.
Progressive can't save you from becoming your parents, but we can save you money when you bundle home and auto.
Looks like you're not sleeping well.
Yeah. How did you know? Hey, Megan!
What? Hey, you're that guy.
The My Pillow guy.
That's right, and I'm here to help you get the best sleep of your lives. Oh, you have a down pillow. Here's the problem with down pillows. You lay there, you feel comfortable, and guess what? It goes down, and you got one bent neck. So this pillow's no good, and I see you're sleeping on memory foam.
Right.
Well, I'll show you what's wrong with that idea.
Okay.
Sleep's all about too high or too low, and I'm going to show you where your comfort level would be.
So, that feels better.
Right, that's better, but I'm not going to sit and hold this all day. So every morning you're getting up like, it's not good. Just like all of you out there, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and none of them worked. That's why I invented my pillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck aligned. My pillow will hold its shape all night long, regardless of your sleep position, for the best sleep of your life.
It feels great to wake up in the morning and feel well rested. It's shocking to me that a pillow could make this big of a difference in my life.
I make all my pillows in my home state of Minnesota, and I back them with my 60-day money.
Advisor pleads guilty to lying to the FBI about conversations with the Russian ambassador. Michael Flynn and his wife went to visit their son and grandson in Virginia. Michael Flynn Jr., who went to Russia with his father back in 2015, was at one point a target for investigators early on. So what happened during those conversations that compelled Michael Flynn Sr. to lie? Fareed Zakaria is here. He's the host of Fareed Zakaria GPS right here on this very network, CNN. Before I get to that, quickly, can I ask you about the White House saying tonight pardon is off the table for Michael Flynn?
I think one of the ways that Mueller has constructed his case by going in this very careful way and very purposefully indicting on specific issues, he's made it very hard for the White House to obstruct the investigation or to issue pardons. So notice the count for Flynn is lying to the FBI about contacts with a foreign government. It would just look very bad for the White House to pardon somebody for that. This is not a minor infraction. This is a pretty important thing. You know, how can the chief law enforcement officer of the country, the president, pardon somebody for lying to federal agents?
Yeah. So let's talk about Michael Flynn Jr. and Michael Flynn, because his move was widely interpreted as the only way that he could possibly guarantee that his son avoided jail time or didn't get further into this than it was. Flynn Jr. tweeted today, "Family is the most important thing in life. Don't ever take yours for granted. Thanks everyone for your support." It was quite a decision that Michael Flynn Sr. faced, right? His son of the president.
Oh, absolutely. And when people talk about this as a minor, as a single count and things like that, look, it's a felony charge. I mean, he's never going to be able to vote again. This is a man who was the National Security Advisor of the United States, three-star general.
Yeah, general.
He's never going to be able to own a gun again in his life. There's all these things that go along with being a felon. So it's a big deal. Any one of us who's has children knows it's a no-brainer in the sense of the trade-off you'd make for your children. Yeah. But I think that the larger policy issue remains. Let's not forget what this is all about is the continuing conundrum as to why the Trump administration was trying to be so nice to Russia. So when it happened, what happened? The question is, why was it during the campaign, after the campaign, in the transition, after the transition, that they were trying to be nice to Russia?
All right, so then why then? Why? Why would they lie about this, especially?
Right. I think that's the part that looks fishy, which is they were trying to be uncharacteristically nice to Russia of all countries in the world, and every time they forgot to mention their contacts on forms, they lied about it to federal officials. The White House lied about it publicly.
Yeah.
Why?
Do we have time for the Preet Bharara soundbite and Jake Tapper? Okay. Well, you heard Preet Bharara and saying, talking about the core issue is, and I guess that is, why are they lying? And basically, many people saying there's much more to come. This is sort of the beginning. Some people say, oh, well, this is the end. They've got Michael Flynn. That's all they have. This is the beginning.
One would have to assume, if you think of Mueller as a careful prosecutor in the way that your previous guests were describing him, if this were the end, presumably he would have thrown the book at Flynn. And there were a lot of things that could have been thrown, some of them minor, some of them maybe not so. The fact that with Flynn he chose this one charge suggests that what Flynn is giving in return are bigger things. So it's very unlikely this is the end. Now, where it leads, I think none of us know. But as I say, you just have this extraordinary pattern of having, tried to change policy toward Russia, then lied about contacts with Russia, lied to the FBI about Russia, and then, of course, the president tried to dismiss the investigation. Let's remember what he told James Comey when he called him in was, I hope you can let Flynn go. He's a good man.
Okay,
and then when Comey seemed resistant, that's when he fired him. So the whole thing, if there isn't something there, it is the most bizarre case of trying to cover up a non-crime.
As I was reading at the top of the show, just the timeline of what would take place, someone would say something and something would happen, and then this action would take place, and it's just, it's odd behavior. It's odd. Thank you. Pleasure. Always a pleasure. Don't miss CNN's Fareed Zakaria GPS. That's Sunday at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern right here on CNN. We'll be right back.
My name is Mike Birchie, and I'm the president of Camcraft. Camcraft makes engine components for cars, trucks, and construction equipment. We've been a part of this community for almost 25 years and employ 300 people here. Continuing to grow, hire, and invest in the business is essential, but America's complex and outdated tax code gets in the way. Tax reform, in our opinion, can help the economy grow. If the economy grows faster, companies like ours invest more. We hire more. Wages go up. Congress promised tax reform. Congress needs to deliver.
It's time to get smart about home security. Introducing Floodlight Cam by Ring, a motion-activated security light with an HD camera.
Don't even think about it.
With Floodlight Cam, you can stop crime before it happens. Protecting your home has never been easier.
Eras. They're defined by accomplishments, by victories, by those with the resourcefulness, the ingenuity, and the grit to help ensure the next energy to power our dreams will be American energy. This is our era. This is America's energy era. Next Era Energy.
Have you ever seen the emerald waters of Barbados? Or seen a butler walk on water? Sandals Barbados, where exclusive is always inclusive. Call 1-800-SANDALS today.
Take a stand, make a stand for what's right. It's always worth the fight. And I stand up for you.
On Sunday, December 17th, join us for CNN Heroes, an all-star tribute hosted by Anderson Cooper and Kelly Ripa. CNN Heroes, an all-star tribute, live December 17th at 8 p.m. on CNN.
Suffering from sinus congestion and allergies? Want to avoid drug and nasal spray side effects and uncomfortable neti pots? Get My Pure Mist Free, the world's first cordless steam inhaler for fast, natural, drug-free relief of your sinus symptoms. Use it anywhere, anytime. Simply press on and get instant pure steam at home, at work, or while traveling. Instant fine mist penetrates deep into your sinuses, nose, and throat, effectively washing away irritants and allergens for superb relief.
This is a miracle machine. The congestion just goes away. I love it.
Cordless My Pure Mist Free is the only steam inhaler that uses sterile water and a medical-grade HEPA filter to make exceptionally pure germ and allergen-free therapeutic mist. No more stuffiness, runny nose, or sore throat. Get cordless My Pure Mist risk-free at Target, Bed Bath & Beyond, or Amazon. Breathe better, sleep better. Get My Pure Mist at Target or other fine retailers today.
Tom Hanks joins David Axelrod for The Axe-Files tomorrow at 7.
My wish was a clubhouse, but we call it the Wish House.
And it just immediately brought something positive in our life. Oh, gotta get up, get Matthew on his treatments.
It's not that bad, though.
Yeah.
The good thing about the surgery is I get to have a popsicle at the end.
He makes the best of everything, and he teaches us to be strong and brave, too.
Through the Subaru Share the Love event, we've helped grant the wishes of 1,500 kids so far. Get a new Subaru and we'll donate $250 more to help those in need.
Put a little love in your heart.
Awesome. And now today, they have decided that they are going
Just
to
look at those two.
their life.
Happy, in love, and saving so much money on their car insurance by switching to Geico. Well, just look at this setting.
Do you have the ring?
Whoa, Heltzberg Diamonds, another beautiful setting. I'm not crying. I've just got a bit of sand in my eyes, that's all.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Well, tonight, voting is underway for the CNN Hero of the Year. Here is one of this year's top 10 heroes. His name is Aaron Valencia.
Custom cars set me in my life in a whole different direction. I started smoking meth at about 14. About 15, the first time I ever shot heroin. Robbing and stealing. The judge committed me to a year of drug treatment. I walked into rehab and never looked back. My life completely changed. I opened up a small shop. Oh, you came here to work? That's what I like to hear. Kids were kind of gravitating towards the shop to see what was going on.
What's up, bro? How are you?
So it was like, let's have them come here and they can actually learn a trade, learn a lesson, learn something to better their life.
He taught us like to put the wheels on it. He inspired me because I always wanted to be a mechanic.
We cater to foster at-risk and low-income youth in the community. We're not looking for perfection, we're just looking for better than yesterday. I'm just trying to be someone who sees where they're at right now and what they're going through and offer a bit of stability. If any of you guys ever thought that maybe you're out there in this world alone and nobody's got your back, there's a lot of people who got your back right now. You know? They're learning, they're somewhere positive. It was a win for all of us.
Vote for Aaron and any of your favorite top 10 CNN heroes. You can do that at cnnheroes.com. And make sure you stay tuned for Anderson Cooper and Kelly Ripa. That special, CNN Heroes, that'll air later on this month. That's it for us tonight. We thank you so much for watching. Our coverage, our special coverage continues now. Jim Sciutto and Pamela Brown. They will be live for you in Washington. I'm Don Lemon. Make sure you have a great weekend.
This is CNN Breaking News. Well, this is a CNN special report, the Russia investigation, and we're following breaking news this evening on the most consequential move yet by the special counsel reaching for the first time into President Trump's inner circle. I'm Pamela Brown.
And I'm Jim Sciutto. Tonight, fired National Security Advisor Michael Flynn is cooperating with investigators after striking a deal and pleading guilty to repeatedly lying to the FBI about his contacts with Russia. We are putting all the pieces together this hour with our correspondents and analysts who've been leading the way on this story. Michael Flynn is the first senior White House official to be charged, to be flipped apparently, and now poised to be a star witness in the Russia probe. Among the big questions tonight, what is Flynn telling Robert Mueller's team, and how damaging could all this be for the president and those closest to him, including his son-in-law, Jared Kushner? Sources tell CNN that Kushner directed Flynn to reach out to the Russian ambassador last September in one of several conversations that Flynn lied about. Court documents show that prosecutors are making a case that Flynn and other Trump advisors coordinated contacts with Russian officials, contacts aimed at influencing international policy before the president took office. Tonight, a senior White House official tells CNN that a presidential pardon for Flynn is, quote, absolutely not under consideration. A source close to the administration is warning that the president and his aides are in denial about the severity of the Russia probe and that the Flynn deal should be a red alert for them. We're joined now with our panel of reporters here who've been covering this story very closely from the beginning. Pam, and you've been covering this story from the beginning as well. Really a momentous day in this investigation and for this administration as well.
That's right, because Michael Flynn is the first official that was in the White House to be charged in the investigation. And so what happened today really brings the focus on the others in the White House, too, how this might impact them. And Gloria Borger, the big question, how does this deal threaten President Trump?
We don't know the answer to that yet. But what I can say is, first of all, we know that Flynn has flipped. So this takes Mueller into the Oval Office, into somebody who was in the West Wing, and he has cooperation from somebody in the West Wing. The White House has always said that it was misled by Flynn about his Russian contacts. So now we have to ask the question, is that true? Were they misled? And of course, it gives us a whole new view of the time the president went up to Comey, pulled him aside, told other people to leave the room, and said, you know, why don't you let this thing go? Right. And now you have to ask the question, why did the president do that? Was it just because he thought Flynn was a good guy and had been an early supporter, or was there something else there?
You know, Evan, you look at this statement of offense here. It's very detailed about these conversations. The White House position has been from the very beginning, the president didn't know about this. Flynn was freelancing, et cetera. But in fact, you look at the statement of offense, and it describes Flynn not only keeping the Trump transition informed, but senior person in the Trump transition directing him what to do with these conversations.
Right, and we know from our own reporting back in December when some of this stuff was happening, Jim, we know that senior people inside the administration, inside the transition, were managing not only this issue with the UN Security Council and the Israeli settlements, which was a big deal for the transition, but also this contact with Sergei Kislyak, the Russian ambassador. Look, one of the things that people ask here is it possible that the president did not know this, which is what he's sort of said. You know, we know that he took the initiative to make phone calls on the Israeli settlement situation. So that doesn't really tell us that this is a president that's sort of out of touch with what was happening with his transition, with what was happening with his incoming national security advisor. From everything we know, the president was very much involved in all of this. And we know from his public statements that he doesn't think it was a big deal. So, you know, I don't think that we can say that he was completely unaware.
Yeah, you bring up his public statements. Of course, it brings to mind Twitter and some of the tweets in the same time frame. For example, when Flynn spoke with Kislyak, the day after that, he tweeted, "Great move on delay by V. Putin," of course, Vladimir Putin of Russia. "I always knew he was very smart." And then in March, the president tweeted, "Mike Flynn should ask for immunity and that this is a witch hunt excuse for big election loss by media and Dems of historic proportion." So what do you think, Manu? What do those tweets tell you about President Trump and what he might have known?
Well, it just raises the question on what did he know? And one of the things that I want to know is, did the president continue to have communications with Michael Flynn? For how long and how recently has he actually spoken to the former national security advisor? We know the president, for one, has kept in contact with a lot of these officials who are no longer part of the administration or part of the campaign. He continued to talk to Paul Manafort afterwards. He continued to talk to Corey Lewandowski. Did he talk to Michael Flynn afterwards? But that tweet about praising Vladimir Putin after Putin did not retaliate of sorts after these sanctions were imposed has to beg the question. Someone must have told him about these conversations right beforehand. Why? Otherwise, you know, it really defies logic.
This was a very small transition. I mean, you've been talking about this,
and it was a small group of people who were meeting in Mar-a-Lago at that time of that phone call.
Well, lying to us is not a crime. Okay, you can lie to the press, and it's not a crime.
Well, part of the administration's defense, you know, during the campaign and during the transition was, listen, we were a small team. We didn't, you know, we weren't Washington insiders. We didn't know how all this kind of stuff
but we were
worked.
All the best.
I don't know if Mueller would use that as.
Well, no, but Gloria, goes to the point then, if they were so small, as we know they were, how is it possible that the president, who is very involved and very much a micromanager, would not know?
Right. I don't think you could say that this is a disengaged president, which was what, during Iran-Contra, what the Reagan administration said about Ronald Reagan, disengaged. This is a president who's very engaged. And I think the question here is, why? Why so much emphasis on Russia? And why so much lying about this? Why, if you have nothing to hide, if the president has said, well, there's nothing wrong with it, then fine.
To dismantle their president.
You know, Why not tell the truth?
And let me just ask, why, in terms of just for context, what is the implication? Why does it matter if the president did know about all of this?
Well, one of the things that the president has been very out there about is sort of saying that this is a witch hunt. And so the question that I think we know that is part of this investigation, Mueller has been looking at, is the question of obstruction and whether or not there was an attempt by the president, by anybody around him, to sort of obstruct the FBI's investigation, to try to get to the bottom of what happened in the 2016 election, whether or not there was any coordination or illegal coordination between the Russians and the campaign. So, look, I think that's a big open question here, and that is why it's important to know what the president knew and when did he know it, right?
We do know that that is a focus of Robert Mueller's investigation, do we not? The possibility of obstruction of justice.
We know there's a group inside the special counsel's office that is dedicated to answering that question of whether or not what has happened, and what, some of it in plain sight, right? I mean, the firing of James Comey, some of the public statements, whether any of that constitutes obstruction of justice.
And how does what happened today perhaps fit into that? I mean, does it?
Look, I think you can make the case that some of what is said here today tells you that at least some of the statements we've seen are not true. For instance, the fact that the president and the White House has been out there sort of portraying Mike Flynn as being on his own, as being some kind of free agent, that is not true according to these statements, because according to the version of events that have been presented in court and accepted by a judge now, Robert Mueller is saying that Flynn was reporting back and getting direction from people, a small circle of people.
You know what's key here, Pamela, and I was going to ask you about this, Manu, is the timeline is very relevant here. Flynn's interviewed on January 24th, I believe, 2016 by the FBI. 2 days later, Sally Yates, then acting FBI director, or Attorney General, rather, then acting Attorney General, raises a red flag because it was apparent that he had lied in that interview. And then Manu, it's a couple weeks later when